This is a podcast about Herefordshire young carers. The podcast has been made as part of Ledbury Poetry Festival's community programme. My name's Toni Cook, and in this podcast I interview staff, Susan and Carol, who run Herefordshire Young Carers, and 5 of the young people who attend. Susan, welcome so much to this small podcast celebrating the Herefordshire Young Carers. Would you just tell us who you are, what you do, and about the Herefordshire Young Carers group, please?
I'm Susan Brace, and I run the Herefordshire Young Carers clubs, which are places online and face-to-face in the real world when we're able to, where any young person who's looking after somebody at home with an illness or a disability can come and have a break from their caring role and can meet other young people just like them and have lots of fun and good experiences.
For those people that haven't ever really thought about what a young carer might be and what that's like, why would they need a group like yours? You know, what's different about their lives to an other young person?
Well, young carers are often doing things you'd normally expect an adult to be doing. They're the kind of things you'd think a grown-up should do. So they might be giving care, for example, in the way they might be giving medication to somebody. They might be helping with physiotherapy, exercises. They might be doing the shopping or the cooking, the housework. Or they might be giving emotional support, which is keeping somebody calm if they're having a bit of a meltdown, or cheering somebody up if they're having a bad day. So there's all sorts of different ways somebody can care, but they're often ways that you wouldn't expect from a child. You think that's usually the grown-up would be doing it. And that can make it hard for a young person because they're so busy doing these caring roles at home. They might not have time to see their friends and to have people around their house to play. They might struggle to find time to do their homework. They might have issues at school. They might find it hard to join regular clubs and after-school activities. So there's all sorts of reasons why it might be challenging for them to have a social life. And the clubs that we run means that those children do get a couple of hours off. They get a couple of hours away from being a carer, and they just get to be a young person having fun with other people who totally get what it's like. They don't have to explain themselves to anyone because everybody who comes to group is a young carer and knows what that's like.
And during COVID, during the pandemic, you said about online. Explain to me how that's worked, because I've been to the real life clubs and there's kind of noisy bits and quiet bits, and people can be, you know, who they are, and they can totally relax or totally go wild, particularly if they're coming from a very, you know, quiet home environment. How's online worked for you and for the young people?
It's been a challenge. It's very different. And to be honest, it doesn't suit everybody because coming online and being on camera can be a little bit daunting for some people, and we totally understand that. But for some people, it's brilliant because you don't have to go out in the cold. You don't have to get a lift. You don't have to get somebody to drive you there. And so for parents who are trying to manage a house full, this is a bit of a relief, really. We can just do it from the living room. And it is different because obviously if you're face-to-face in a group, we can have several things going on, several different activities taking place in one building. And so if you're not interested in doing one thing, you can go and play in another room or in another area and have a little chat. That's slightly different with a Zoom club because we're all in one screen together. And if we all talk at once, we won't hear what each other's saying. And if we're trying to run 2 or 3 activities in one Zoom group, that's going to be chaos. So the way we do it is we make separate groups for separate things. So we've got our fun, zany, let's play hundreds of games club on a Wednesday night. And then on Friday nights, we have our let's just chill and chat and have a talk about what's going on for people that want to just catch up with their friends and be a bit more relaxed. So we've got 2 different ways of doing it. Lots of activities in one, lots of games, and chilling and chatting in the other one. So it works really well. We try and have something different at each club. So we still do things like arts and crafts and making things. We've done online cookery, which is good. The cook-along session, set up the camera in the kitchen. And if people don't want to join in, that's fine. We always say you can just watch and be the bake-off judges. So you can take part as much or as little as you want to. And I always say to people, if you are shy, and it is daunting joining any group, online or in person, the nice thing about Zoom is that you can come along and you don't even have to switch your camera on, or you can point it at the wall or at your teddy or whatever you like, and you can turn your microphone off and you can just sort of be there at a club and see what you think of it before deciding whether you're going to be interested in joining in. So it's quite a safe way to get to know us all.
Susan, will you just explain for the real life groups, because Herefordshire is an enormous county, you know, those of us who've had to drive from Kington to Ross know about the length and breadth of Herefordshire. Would you just explain where the clubs are? Are they all in Hereford or are they kind of around the county?
We've got them sort of like in the top, middle and bottom of the county as far as possible. So we've got one in Leominster, one in Hereford and one in Ross-on-Wye. And we know that doesn't suit absolutely everybody because there's still people that aren't near any of those towns or the city. For them, we are looking at, in an ideal world, if we got enough funding and enough interest, we'd look at starting more clubs in other towns like Ledbury and Kington. And in the meantime, what we can offer is the online option. And we're always going out on fundraising exercises to see if we can get extra money for transport. So even if people are a bit rurally isolated, we'd like to be able to get them to join in somehow. And even if you can't get to a club, we also run trips, outings and activities throughout the year and school holidays and weekends. So there's hopefully always going to be something accessible for everyone.
How's the group funded? You know, who funds your role? And I know that Carol works with you as well. How does that work? Is it a kind of a Herefordshire Council thing or is it separate?
It's separate. We're entirely independent of government funding, either central or local. We are currently coming to the end of a 3-year Children in Need project. So Children in Need have funded us for the last 3 years. We're very much hoping they'll continue to fund us. We're putting in a funding bid for more money from Children in Need. So fingers crossed for that one. We get funding from individuals and local organisations like Hereford Freemasons, various Lions groups and Rotary clubs. All the different local ones are very kind and have given us money in the past. People are very generous and fundraise. We've had money from different schools that have done things like non-uniform days and bake sales. So over the years, we've been very fortunate to be kept going through the kindness and generosity of our lovely local Herefordians.
What would it mean, do you think, if it didn't exist, if that funding wasn't provided?
If we weren't here, it would be very difficult because we are the only organisation that is providing specific groups just for young carers. So it's the only place they can come where everybody understands what it's like, where it's tailored to specific young carer needs and aspirations. And it gives them a break and it gives them the chance to have fun. And we try and make sure that we do activities that the young carers want. So it's very young carer led. They get to tell us the kind of things they'd like to experience, the things they'd like to try, and we make that happen. And without group, they just wouldn't have that same opportunity because mainstream groups are very valuable and they have their part to play, but they're not just for young carers. So you don't quite get that level of understanding and the friendships that people make at club. Because being a young carer can feel very isolating. A lot of young carers don't realise they're a young carer for a long time. It's just something you do for the person in your family that you love. And when they do realise they're a young carer, they may not always realise just how many young carers are out there, because they often don't make it known. So you might be at school with lots of young carers, but you don't know that. And so coming to a group, you get to meet other people that are just like you, that are also having to juggle their school and their social life and their caring role. And we've got young carers that have made lifelong friends. They're now young adult carers, and they're still friends with the people they met when they first stepped into a club when they were 8 years old, and now they're 18. So it's a wonderful thing.
And just tell us quickly what the age range is for young carers that you support, and then what the option is for them as they do become an adult.
We don't really have a lower age limit, because young carers can start in a caring role from, and as soon as they can walk. We've known ones that as soon as they are able, they're getting up on the chair in the kitchen and getting a bowl out and pouring the cereal for their 3-year-old siblings. So as soon as that person's in a caring role, families can get in touch and we'll do what we can to support. At our clubs, the age range is usually 8 through to 18. As young carers reach those older teenage years, they transition into what we call young adult carers. And we also have a group for young adult carers, which supports them right up to the age of 25.
If I were a young carer, or if my child were a young carer, how would we find out about you if we weren't known to you already?
I would hope that you would stumble across us online. We try to have a very strong online presence. So if you were to Google Herefordshire or Hereford and young carers, hopefully we would pop up in that search. And we've got a website and a Facebook page and a Twitter feed and an Instagram and a YouTube channel. Haven't quite got onto TikTok yet, but I've had some suggestions that I take that up as well. And we're also known to the local council. So if you were talking to somebody there, they should help you. And teachers in schools should also know about us. Now, if you wanted to get in touch and join our groups and get some support, that's really, really easy. You can do it any way you want. You can give us a phone call. All our details, as I said, are on the website, Facebook, Twitter feed. So you can send us a direct message, you can send us a text, an email, you can give us a phone call. We just take a few details, and there you go, part of the Herefordshire Young Carers Club.
Susan, I've been lucky to come and work with you and the Herefordshire Young Carers over the last couple of years through Ledbury Poetry Festival. We've done poetry, we've done drama, games, no end of utterly bonkers things on Zoom over the last 18 months. Can you tell me a little bit about why you think creativity is such a great outlet, and that poetry work with the young carers, please?
I think it works so well because it gives them a way to express themselves. And often it's giving them the opportunity to try something they may not have tried before. So some of them may have never really thought about poetry before. They might have thought of it as quite a dry sort of school topic and not realised how much fun it can be and how much enjoyment they get out of expressing themselves through words. And similarly, the drama sessions, expressing their emotions, their feelings, just having fun with it. And the creativity part of it is so important because often it can lead in unexpected directions and you get these sudden unexpected turns of phrase or a feeling that you didn't know other people shared about what you're doing with your caring role and how you're managing things. So it's really, really valuable for them. And we've been really lucky that we've had such a good response to things like the drama sessions and the poetry workshops. And we've had some marvellous feedback after the drama workshops and the poetry sessions. And when we ask young carers to let us know what kind of thing they'd like to do in upcoming young carer clubs, they do mention Toni an awful lot. Toni gets her name written in big felt tip pen letters on the suggestions sheet. So it's a very, very worthwhile and popular choice. And we've been lucky enough to have other things. We have done some pottery as well, which is good. Obviously, that is harder to do online. But that said, we did send all the young carers some air dry clay in the post in the height of the first pandemic. So they got to do what we could online, but it's a lot better. We can actually have a potter's wheel and do it that way. And we've had various music sessions with BIM as well. So yeah, we do have a lot of guests that come along and teach our young carers new things that they might not have tried before.
Paige, would you just introduce yourself for the podcast, please?
Hello, I'm Paige. I'm 15. I'm going to be 16 in April. I'm in year 11 and I've got my GCSEs coming up in May.
Crikey, you've got it all going on, Miss Paige. Thank you for joining us this evening. Could you tell us a little bit about what makes you a young carer? Tell us about your family situation, please.
Me and my sister look after my mum with like around the house and like putting her morphine patches on at night. Every 2 days, we put the patches on her back, but we swap the sides. And we help her with a medication, and we help her get around the house because she struggles with the stairs.
Paige, how long have you and your sister been doing those sorts of things at home for mum?
Well, I've been doing them ever since I was in primary school. So I think year 3 or year 4, I think I'm in year 3. My sister has been doing them just for a couple of years now. So as she's like recently got more mature, like I think year 6 or 5, she started helping my mum around the house with me.
So you've been a young carer for a really huge part of your life for mum. Would you just explain to people what makes young carers different to other young people? You know, what are some of the kind of responsibilities or things that other people perhaps wouldn't understand and wouldn't experience?
Well, you have more responsibility, and you will probably have to mature quite early in life. And you don't get to do stuff like normal kids your own age will be able to do, like go out and see your friends every weekend or something. You will probably have to stay in the house and help round and help with like chores and looking after like pets if you have any, or helping other family members. Probably more responsibility than normal children should have.
But you have no choice, do you?
Yeah.
And so can you tell me a little bit about the Young Carers group and how long you've been going to that? I imagine a million years.
And I've met one of my best friends there, and she's in her first, or I think she's in her second year of college. And her name is Molly, and she is a lovely, lovely friend to have. And we go every Wednesday fortnight. We do a lot of games and like arts and crafts. And you can have, and if you don't want to do any of that, in the sector that we are in, we have a little like quiet area where there's like no noise, and you can just like sit down on your phones and chat with other people.
Tell me what it's like to meet somebody like Molly who knows what it's like, because I imagine that perhaps through both primary school and secondary school, a lot of your classmates have perhaps got no idea what your day-to-day life is like and all of those responsibilities, and not perhaps having the same carefree time that they have. What's it been like making a friend who has a knowledge of what that's like?
As you said, like my classmates don't really understand. When I first tell them why I'm a young carer, they say like, what's that? And then I have to try and to explain to them what it is. So it's quite a long saga of confusing knowledge. But if I have someone in the same area as me, that like Molly looks after her younger brother who's autistic and he has really bad epilepsy. It's quite nerve-wracking at first because you're meeting new people. But that's from my experience because of my social anxiety. So you'll probably be more aware, like they'll know what your life is and like what their life is as well. So you'll understand each other's problems.
And perhaps not having to explain in the way that you might have to explain to somebody perhaps from school.
Yeah, especially teachers.
Oh, tell me about them.
Oh, it's a nightmare. Trying to explain to a teacher why I was off for like that particular day, especially if I had a test that day. I will obviously have to reset the test and I'm quite behind on some work because of my own health as well and my mum's. If my dad is not there for any particular reason, like he's trying to look after my grandma because she's got really bad dementia at the moment. So me or my sister will have to stay at home for that day. And then the next day we'll have to try and explain to the teachers why I was off, which can get quite heated at some parts because my attendance at the moment is not too good.
That's not your fault, is it?
No.
I'm really sorry to hear that because I think you shouldn't have to be kind of re-explaining those things at school. That's really sad to hear. And I hope that once you're out of there come May, that whatever choices you make from sort of September onwards, if you're going to go to the tech college or the sixth form or the art college or do an apprenticeship, that you can just tell somebody that information once, because to have to keep retelling is probably really exhausting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just tell me a little bit about what having people like Susan and Carol do for you, having them in your life with the group, please.
It's more helpful because if you're like struggling at home with like mental health or like you're stressed about looking after someone, they're just like a click away. Like you can like I've got Sue's number, so I message her like every week to see oh, I'm struggling with this, like, oh, I can't come to Young Carers this week. My mum does get frustrated because she says like, oh, you're gonna get like kicked out. I'm like, Sue's not gonna do that, because I tell her the reasons and Sue understands completely. Carol, on the other hand, is a sweetheart. I absolutely love Carol. She brings all the arts and crafts, and she's such a like bubbly person to talk to, and she's like always like open about like opinions as well. Same with Sue, she's always open about opinions.
Why Fridays are important or have been important for you as a space to chat or whatever?
You can summarize like the positives and the negatives of that week. You can speak to the other ones, like the other young carers that are on there, and they're all nice. So I'm more of a chatterbox, so I speak like most of the time. So they just like they're just like really quiet and listen. When I stop talking, one of them starts talking. It's like a group that you can just like talk to, and there's no like loud noises. There's no like little children being like interrupting and like being really loud. It's just like a quiet session where everything's calm, collected, and you can just like speak about whatever.
Awesome.
If you don't understand, don't say it because then it can be more stressful to try and explain like what our job is as a young carer, because if we've explained it as in much detail as possible and you still do not get it, Google it because we're already under enough stress.
Hi Beth, thank you for joining in with the podcast this evening. Could you tell us a little bit about what it's like for you being a young carer? What do you do for somebody else at home?
So my brother suffers with cystic fibrosis. So I help with all things medication. Every time he needs food, there's medication needed. Any physio that is done on a daily basis, normally about 2 times a day. If he's ill, it's 3 times a day. Normally he can get quite bored while having physio. So I just do the entertaining part, basically.
And can you tell me in what ways it's tricky for you A, being a young carer, and B, having your brother who you live with being so poorly?
With cystic fibrosis, there's always a lot of hospital stays, and they're normally 2 weeks minimum if he's been ill. So even a simple cold can cause a 2 week stay in hospital, which then means our family is split up. And often my mum has to go and stay with my brother with him being only 4 years old. It then means every responsibility that a mother would usually have, as I'm the older sibling, it's normally passed down to me. And so I find there's a lot more responsibilities when there's a hospital stay involved than when he's at home.
That's a great answer, Beth. Thank you. And just a little bit more on that. When Malachi is at home, how have things impacted school and college? Have things been different to your friends?
I struggle with socialising them because I'm thinking, well, if something goes wrong, do I need to be at home? Or as I'm the oldest, if mum goes out or my dad's out, then sometimes the babysitting's down to me, and I'm thinking, okay, how much medication's needed for this and how much is needed for that? So it can just change really. And sometimes it impacts you because you're thinking, well, what if something was to go wrong and I'm not there?
Incredible answer. You are so mature and so brilliant. A lot of your friends don't have the same setup as you at home, don't have a lovely Malachi there. So what does going to club, both online and in real life, do for you?
So when I go to Hereford Young Carers Club, I find that I'm away and I've got that kind of relief. Well, not a relief, it's more of a relaxing time rather than at home where I've got the responsibilities. But even when it's online at home, I use my bedroom as a bubble. And when Herefordshire Young Carers is on, that bubble then is formed and I'm in it and no one kind of disturbs me.
If you could give a message to those people that run the group about what it's meant for you.
Thank you for doing them. It helps in the one in a million ways that I can describe. It just gives you that most relaxing time that everyone needs, really. I couldn't be more thankful for in the last 4 years that I've been coming.
Beth, could you just tell us a little bit more about club, what you do there, what activities, and what it's like getting to know other young carers?
I go to a club every 2 weeks when I do a different range of activities. It can be slime, soap making, colouring in, lots of crafts through paper and boxes and loads of things that just you use on a daily basis. It helps being around people with the similar situation that you're in, because then you kind of bond a friendship. And I found I've bonded many friendships, some that I still keep in touch with on the outside of Young Carers.
Hi, Carol. Could you just introduce yourself?
My name's Carol. I've been working for Herefordshire Young Carers for 10 years now. Generally, I take charge of doing the arts and crafts things and organising what the children are going to be making. We range things from felted soap to bath salts, bird feeders, anything that's in theme and in season. We do card making.
Why do you think the Young Carers Club is so important for young carers?
It's important that they get a break from their day-to-day caring role, and also they've got support with young carers, with myself and Suzanne. If they've got any problems or any issues, just might want to talk those through, or Suzanne can direct them to other agencies that might be suitable to help them out. Young carers can get bullied at school because they're that bit different, so we can help with that. They make friendships because they're with like-minded other children, and they keep those friendships going sometimes after club or outside of club. It gives them some free time to be themselves without the responsibility of the caring role. The club's carried on during lockdown and how successful that has been. And that's been a lot to credit to Suzanne because she set it up and she does a lot of the games and the activities, that sometimes it's not always just the physical things you do. For mom, dad, siblings, it can be the emotional support as well and that emotional strain. So it could be that you don't actually say, yes, I do X, Y, Z, but it could be some of that, or it could be none of it, but it is just emotionally supporting whoever you're looking after.
Thank you so much, Ellie, for coming to talk to us today for our Young Carers podcast. Could you tell us a little bit about what do you do for someone at home? What makes you a young carer?
Well, I'm a young carer because my dad has a disability to do with his nerves and it can cause migraines, and I have to look after him.
So what are some of the things that you do for him, and what are some of the things that you have to do for yourself because he can't do them for you?
The things I have to do for him, it can vary. So sometimes it will be as little as getting him a blanket or something, or making sure that all of the windows are closed when he's ill, because too much cold can cause worse migraines than he normally has. And stuff I have to do for me is all my chores plus some of his, and I have to make my own food for breakfast and lunch when he's not up.
Compared to somebody who's not a young carer, in what ways can things be a bit tricky for you sometimes?
There is a lot, but one of the main ones is like after school clubs. I cannot be picked up from them, and we do have to sort that out quite a lot, but not many people are able to pick me up or drop me off. Obviously, I can't come to young carers sometimes because obviously of the same reasons.
You said there were a lot of things. That transport's obviously a big one, at certain times that aren't school times. What are some of the other things that are tricky for you?
It does involve like getting to hospital appointments, him and for me equally, because he has one doctor in Birmingham, one in London, and one in Oxford, and everywhere in the world or something. It can be quite tricky to get to those if he's having a bad day, which means he has to cancel. Sometimes, depending on how urgent the hospital appointment is, it can lead to a lot of bad things, and it can impact both of us.
Do you feel that you have a lot of responsibility?
Yeah, but sometimes we get help from my sister as well when she's not working.
How old are you, Ellie?
I'm 13.
What are some of the impacts of being so responsible at age 13, perhaps compared to some of your friends at school?
Goodness, don't ask me that. I wouldn't know. If you ask my dad, he would probably say a lot of things. I'm not sure, really.
Would you tell me a little bit about what you do when you go to club, both online and face-to-face? The second part of the question is, what does doing all that activity mean for you?
Oh, when I go to club, obviously, we do like many activities. Like, for example, when I went to the last face-to-face one, which was the last meeting we did for 2021, we made slime and we had like crisps and all that, which I thought was really cool and I really enjoyed it. And online, we do like anything. We do mostly pen and paper games, but we can also do like dramatic entrances and things like that, which I am surprisingly famous for in the club.
At least you didn't break your bed like one of the young people did. You're probably one of the most creative people I've seen getting involved in some of the activities we've done. What does going to club, both online and face-to-face, mean for you?
Well, it does mean I get out of the house. Well, that's mostly for all clubs in general, but it means I get out of the house and I can talk to people who actually understand my situation and can like help me, which I find really good.
So if you were to talk to Susan or Carol when you went to club, or if you went to talk to one of your friends, how does that help you?
Oh, it just makes me feel better, really. We don't get out much and there's not many people in the neighbourhood that I know, except like one friend that goes to my school. It's just a good chance to get out, meet new people, talk, and it just makes me feel happy.
This is my last question, unless you've got something else that you want to share. What's one thing that people don't understand about being a young carer?
Thinking about it, it's probably actually looking after the parent, because they don't understand how big of a responsibility that is. And because of my current condition with my disabilities as well, it can make it extra hard sometimes for the both of us. So it kind of just doubles everything. And sometimes he can have a bad day and I can have a bad day, and we are both just in a bad mood and we will argue. It's not the best situation, but we try to understand each other's points of views. And I don't think many people understand that we try our best, but we can't do everything that we want to, and we can't like see people and things like that.
What a brilliant answer. Ellie, you are so articulate, so wonderful.
Because of my dad's mental illness, technically, it is a mental and physical one to do with his nerves, and it can affect everything. One day he will have an amazing day and we can go out and we will go for a walk somewhere like National Trust places. But other days he can't do anything. He will lie in his bed. He will do literally nothing at all. And I have to pick up the pieces and help around everything around the house. And we try our best to do everything we can. It's just sometimes it is not working.
Ellie, I think you've got a complete fan club here of people who know how hard you try. And we don't all get it right every day. And you are 13.
I love like all of the activities and things we do, and I love the art ones especially, but I'm not good at drawing with my eyes closed. I'm telling you that now. I think we already know that though. It's definitely been awesome like to come back to the club, because I know it shut down like 3 or 4 years ago when I first went to it. There's a loads of different people now, and there's a lot more. I think it's like really nice how you managed to get everything back up and running again, because I thought I was never going to see young carers again in my life, and then bam, here it is. It made everything better about everything that's going on. Lockdown and things was just chaos. I got a lot worse during those days because obviously a lot of things happened involving like personal family and people I was close with.
Hi Lucian, hi Athena. Thank you so much for joining us on Zoom tonight and to talk about being some of our younger young carers. Could you explain to me what you think a young carer is, and tell me a little bit about what you do at home for your mum?
Like a young carer is basically you care for someone at your house, like has like an illness or something.
Yeah.
And so who do you care for, Athena, at your house?
Mum.
And can you both tell me some of the things that you do at home for mum?
Cleaning? Your turn next.
We do like cleaning. Sometimes if dad's like at work, sometimes I look after mum and Tina sometimes.
So do you have to do more things than perhaps your friends have to do at home, would you say?
Yes.
Yes, definitely.
Because once Dad was at work and Mum was ill, so she couldn't pick us up to school. So Lucian's old enough he has his phone and stuff, so he got me back from school one day.
Well, thank goodness, Lucian, for you and your phone. Well done. In what ways can things be tricky for you sometimes because you're young carers?
Like sometimes we can't really like play or something. Like if Dad's here or something, I can like sometimes play on my PC. But sometimes I can't really.
Because you have to look after Mum.
Yeah.
Do you sometimes have to be quiet and like not crash around the house?
Not really.
I do,
Right,
because
if we have to be quiet, I just don't really sit on my chair upstairs because it makes a lot of noise.
Yes.
Like down here, you can hear it so loud.
It's creaky.
You're obviously both lovely, kind, caring young people for your mum and for each other. So tell me a little bit about going to club. I know you've only been going to it since lockdown, so a lot of your club experience has been online. What are some of the things that you've done at club and what have you enjoyed?
I enjoyed when we were at club the slime. And we still have it.
What colour is it?
Mine's pink.
Lucian, what about you? What have you enjoyed about club though, Lucian?
Like all the new friends I've made.
Why is it important to make new friends who are perhaps similar to you, that they're young carers too?
Because they know what you're going through sometimes.
And what difference does that make?
A lot. Because like you can speak to them about it and they know how you feel.
And tell me about what some of those feelings are.
I feel sometimes a bit scared at home.
Because you're worried?
Yeah.
Like mum gets like really ill. And that sometimes like kind of worries me a bit.
Same. It scares me and it makes me really sad.
And I suppose it's good to be able to talk to other people who might have got a similar experience to that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like if you don't want to talk to anybody about it, I normally talk to my teacher.
Thank goodness for teachers, hey? Thank goodness for nice people like Susan and Carol who run the Young Carers.
Yeah.
Now, I met you two on online Zoom Herefordshire Young Carers Club, and you were both amazing at doing lots of the games and activities. Can you tell us a little bit about what you enjoyed about the online club, please?
I liked,
like you could just sit here on your bottom and you can like do stuff on this.
I liked when
Like you can send
you first came and
stuff.
you did like art, like on the Zoom. I like that.
well, like the challenge things.
Oh
The
yeah.
challenge thing with Bobbies.
You were good at the challenge.
And the like things you have to dress up and stuff.
Awesome. Can I just say thank you to you two so much for coming.
Like it's really fun. You miss that bit off. It's fun. And everyone at Young Carers is really nice.
Yeah.
And they can support us.
We've got all this love for you two. Incredible. Oh, look, a love heart. I love it. Well done, you two. Heart from me. The recordings were all made via Zoom. Thank you to Rich Hawkins for his work editing. And thank you to Beth, Paige, Ellie, Lucian and Athena for their participation.